Sometimes love doesn't arrive the way we expect. It doesn't knock politely. It just happens quietly. Between two souls who were never supposed to find comfort in each other. They say family is built on love. But what happens when love is the reason the family falls apart? This is not a story about right or wrong. It's a story about two people who were both lost and somehow found each other in the ruins.
The house hadn't changed. Same peeling paint, same silence that clung to the air like old dust. Only the wind moved, whispering through the half-open window as if it still remembered the voices that once filled these rooms. Ethan stood at the gate, suitcase in one hand, heart heavier than he wanted to admit. 3 years away, and still he felt 17 again the moment he saw that porch. His mother was gone now. The funeral had happened 6 months ago. He hadn't come. He couldn't, not because he didn't love her, but because coming back meant facing him. Liam, the man who had married his mother when Ethan was 15, too young to understand love, too angry to forgive it. A stranger who had walked into their lives quietly, fixed the leaking roof, cooked dinner when his mother forgot, and smiled too gently for someone with so much loneliness in his eyes. And now Liam was all that remained of this house. Ethan pushed the rusty gate open. It cried out, just like the past he'd tried to bury. Inside, the air smelled of wood and rain. Photos were gone from the walls. Only faint outlines remained where frames once hung. He expected the silence. He didn't expect the light, soft and warm coming from the kitchen. He followed it. Liam stood there, back turned, sleeves rolled up, hair streaked with gray that hadn't been there before. He was washing a single cup slowly as if afraid to break it. When he looked up, their eyes met. For a second, time forgot to breathe. "You came back," Liam said, softly, almost to himself. Ethan's throat tightened. "Yeah, I didn't think I would." Liam nodded once. "Your room's the same." Ethan let out a dry laugh. "Everything's the same." "Not everything," Liam whispered. The words hung there, heavier than either of them could carry. Dinner was silent, forks against plates, rain against glass, the clock ticking above the doorway. It felt like years of unspoken things were sitting between them, all the apologies, the confusion, the warmth that had never known where to go. Ethan looked at Liam's hands, the same ones that used to fix everything in this house. Now they trembled slightly when he reached for his glass. "You didn't have to stay here after Mom."
"Someone had to," Liam said quietly.
"She loved this place. You could have left." "I promised her I wouldn't." A long pause. "She'd be happy you're here." "I'm not staying," Ethan said quickly, too quickly. Liam smiled faintly, not arguing. "That's what you said last time." Later that night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The rain had stopped, but the silence kept whispering. Every corner of the house held memories. Laughter, arguments, the way his mother's voice used to echo down the hall. And somewhere in between, Liam's voice, steady, patient. He walked into the hallway, drawn to the faint glow from the living room. Liam was there, sitting on the couch reading one of his mother's old books. The lamplight softened his face. The same face that had once been the stranger. Ethan hated, now quietly familiar. "You still read her books?" Liam looked up. "I promised her I'd finish this one. Never did. She always said you read too slow." A small smile. "Maybe I just like taking my time." Their eyes met again, and this time something shifted. Not romantic yet, not even close. Just two souls realizing how empty they'd been, and how much silence could hold. That night, Ethan dreamt of his mother's voice. "Take care of him, Ethan. He took care of us." When he woke, dawn light spilled through the curtains, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel completely alone. The morning came quietly, the kind that didn't ask you to wake up. Just slipped light through the curtains and waited. Ethan sat at the edge of his bed, the same bed he'd slept in as a teenager. The wallpaper still had the same small tear near the window, where he once taped a photo of his mother. He rubbed his hands over his face. Everything about this place felt like a museum of someone else's life. The air, the smell of rain-soaked wood, the echo of footsteps in the hallway. Even the silence was familiar. From the kitchen, he heard soft clinking. Liam was making breakfast. For a moment, Ethan almost smiled. That sound, it used to mean comfort. Now it just meant that time had moved on without asking. He walked out barefoot and found Liam at the counter. He was still wearing the same gray sweater from last night. Sleeves pushed up, hair messy. "Morning," Ethan said quietly. Liam looked up, half a smile. "Didn't think you'd wake up before noon." "Couldn't sleep." "You never could when it rained." Ethan's chest tightened a little. "You remember that?" Liam's voice softened. "I remember more than I should." The silence stretched, gentle but heavy. After breakfast, Ethan wandered through the living room. He stopped near the bookshelf. Half the shelves were empty. His mother's books, gone. Her favorite vase, gone. It felt like someone had been trying to erase her, piece by piece. He turned toward Liam. "Where's all her stuff?" "Packed away. Couldn't bring myself to throw them out." "Can I—" "They're in the attic." The attic. Ethan remembered being forbidden to go up there as a kid. Now, it called to him like a heartbeat from the past. Dust filled the air as he pulled the ladder down. He climbed slowly, every step creaking like a memory coming undone. The attic smelled like cedar and old paper. Boxes everywhere, labeled in his mother's handwriting. He knelt beside one marked letters. Inside, envelopes tied with ribbon, faded and soft from time. Each one had Liam's name written on it. He froze. His mother had written to him. He picked one and opened it carefully. The paper trembled between his fingers. "Liam, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't say it in person. You were never just a husband. You were the anchor in a house full of storms. Ethan will hate you for a while. Don't let that break you. He's more like you than he'll ever admit. And when I'm gone, don't leave him, please. You understand silence better than anyone. Maybe you'll both learn to fill it with something good someday." Ethan's breath caught. His eyes blurred as he read her handwriting again and again, each word heavier than the one before. "You knew?" he said from behind. Ethan turned sharply. Liam stood at the attic doorway, voice quiet, almost afraid. "You knew she was dying," Ethan said. Liam nodded slowly. "She didn't want you to see her that way." "So you just—" "Kept it from me? She made me promise." The air felt thick, too much truth in too small a space. Ethan's voice broke. "You had no right." "You're right," Liam said softly. "But I did it anyway." Ethan dropped the letter. It fluttered to the floor like a small, dying bird. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Liam stepped forward and picked it up, his fingers brushing Ethan's for a second. That single touch, brief, unplanned, was electric. Not in a way that burned, but in the way that reminded you you're still alive. "I promised her I'd take care of you," Liam said quietly. "But I think she knew. I needed you as much as you needed me." Ethan couldn't answer. He just stood there, heart racing, eyes on the man who was supposed to be a stranger, but somehow wasn't anymore. That night, Ethan sat by the window watching the rain return. The letter lay open beside him. For the first time, he didn't feel anger. He just felt heavy, with memory, with questions, with the strange warmth that had begun to grow in the quiet between them. Outside, thunder rolled across the hills. Inside, the silence between them began to shift. From distance, to something neither of them could yet name. The house had changed since that night. It wasn't louder, it was quieter, but in a different way. The silence didn't feel like an absence anymore. It felt like waiting. Ethan started spending more time downstairs. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the way Liam filled the house, steady, unspoken, always there. Maybe it was because loneliness had begun to sound too much like his own thoughts. Every morning Liam made coffee. Every morning Ethan pretended not to wait for it. "You still take it black?" Liam asked one morning. "Yeah," Ethan replied, eyes on the window. "You hated sugar even as a kid. You said it ruined the taste. Still does." They shared a faint smile. It felt like the first warm thing in days. Later that afternoon, Liam was fixing the old record player in the living room. Ethan sat on the floor, legs crossed, watching him from a distance. The rain outside blurred the world to gray, the kind of soft, endless gray that made you want to talk about things you shouldn't. "You kept all her letters," Ethan said quietly. Liam's hands stilled for a moment. "I couldn't throw them away." "Did you love her?" Liam looked up, eyes gentle but heavy. "Every day. But it wasn't simple love, it was the kind that teaches you how to stay even when it hurts." Ethan nodded slowly. "I don't think I've ever had that." "You will," Liam said, "when you stop running from quiet." Evening fell. The storm deepened. Ethan found himself sitting at the piano in the corner, untouched for years. His mother used to play it every night before bed. He pressed a single key. The sound cracked, low and uncertain. Then another. Then another. Liam came to stand behind him. You remember her favorite song, he asked. Ethan nodded. She used to hum it while cooking. Play it. Ethan's fingers hesitated, but he began, slowly, softly. The melody stumbled at first, then found its rhythm. Halfway through he felt it, that pull again, the gravity between them. When the last note faded, Liam whispered, "She'd be proud of you." Ethan turned slightly, his voice barely above a breath. "I'm not sure she would." "I am." They were close now. Too close for comfort, too far for retreat. The air was thick with everything they hadn't said. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep again. He walked out to the porch barefoot, rain misting his face. A few moments later, Liam joined him, carrying 2 mugs of tea. Neither spoke. The rain did all the talking. After a while, Ethan said quietly, "You stayed all these years. Even when she was gone, why?" Liam took a long breath before answering. "Because leaving would have meant losing both of you." Ethan turned to him. His heart didn't know whether to ache or soften. "You didn't have to stay for me. I didn't, but I did." The truth landed between them, quiet but undeniable. When Ethan looked at Liam then, it wasn't the same. It wasn't fatherly. It wasn't distant. It was something fragile, raw, that neither of them knew how to name, a kind of care that scared them both. The rain slowed. Liam stepped closer, brushing a raindrop from Ethan's hair without thinking. That simple touch, it shattered the last of the distance. Neither of them spoke, because sometimes words only ruin what silence builds. That night they went back inside, both pretending nothing had changed. But it had. Something had shifted quietly, permanently. Ethan could feel it in every glance, every pause, every unfinished sentence. And though neither of them would admit it, they both knew. The silence between them wasn't empty anymore. It was full and dangerous. The days blurred together after that night. It was the kind of stillness that hums beneath your skin, quiet but charged. Ethan started noticing things. The way Liam's voice softened when he said his name. The way his hand brushed the table closer whenever Ethan sat down. The way his eyes lingered a second too long. It shouldn't have meant anything. But it did. One morning, Ethan found himself standing outside the shed, the one that had stayed locked for years. His mother's garden tools still leaned against the wall, rusted and waiting. He pushed the door open, and the smell of dust and rain hit him like memory. Liam appeared behind him, wiping his hands on a towel. "You haven't been out here since she died," Ethan finished for him. The silence after that was heavy, not awkward, just full. "You used to help her plant the tulips," Liam said. "Every spring." "I remember," Ethan replied softly. "She'd hum the same song every time." He turned to face him. "Do you ever stop missing her?" "No," Liam said after a pause. "You just learn to live around the missing." Something in Ethan broke at that. He didn't cry, not really, but his voice trembled. "I don't think I ever learned that." Liam stepped closer, instinctively reaching to rest a hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to learn it alone." The touch lingered. Too long, too careful, and Ethan didn't move away. Later that night, the electricity went out during another storm. Candles flickered through the house, painting gold on the walls. Ethan sat by the window, staring at the thunder rolling across the dark horizon. Liam walked in with a blanket, draping it over his shoulders. "You're freezing." "I'm fine," Ethan said, but his voice betrayed him. Liam stayed beside him, watching the rain in silence. The candlelight caught his profile, tired, older, kind. "You know," Liam said after a while, "you remind me of her sometimes. The way you stare at the rain like it's saying something only you can hear." Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe it is." A long pause, the kind that holds 1,000 unsaid things. Then quietly, "Ethan," Liam said, almost whispering, "you don't have to keep carrying her ghost." Ethan turned to him, eyes glinting with candlelight. "And what if I don't know who I am without it?" "Then let someone help you find out." The words were simple, but they hit like thunder. For a moment, Ethan thought he might break again, or reach for him or run. But he did none of those things. He just looked at him, and that was enough to make the air feel heavy. Later, as the candles burned low, Liam reached for one of the photo frames on the shelf. Ethan's mother, smiling between them. He traced the edge of the frame with his thumb. "She'd want you to be okay," he murmured. "I'm trying," Ethan said. "You're more like her than you think." Ethan looked up. "You say that like it's supposed to make me feel better." "Maybe it should." A faint laugh escaped him. It was the first real one in days. Something softened between them again. That fragile, dangerous quiet. When Ethan went to bed that night, he couldn't sleep. Every word replayed in his mind. Every look, every silence. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the storm whispering outside his window, thinking about how sometimes healing looks too much like love, and love too often looks like something you shouldn't want. By the time the rain stopped, the house had settled into a rhythm. Two people orbiting around something they wouldn't name. Morning coffee, shared meals, music in the background, and silence. Always silence, but it wasn't empty anymore. It pulsed with something alive. Ethan could feel it when Liam brushed past him in the hallway. He could feel it when they spoke without looking at each other, even when they didn't speak at all. That afternoon, Ethan was in the living room sorting through old photo albums. Liam came in quietly carrying a cup of tea. "You're going through those again?" "I don't even know why," Ethan said, flipping a page. "It's like I'm looking for something that isn't there." Liam sat down beside him. "Maybe you're trying to remember who you were before everything fell apart." Ethan looked at him. "And what if I don't like that person?" "Then you get to become someone new." Ethan laughed softly. "You make it sound easy." "It isn't, but it's worth it." Their hands brushed as Liam passed him the tea. Neither moved away. The moment stretched, delicate, dangerous, real. Later that evening, Liam was fixing the old shelf in the hallway when Ethan appeared behind him. He didn't say anything at first, just watched him. The curve of his shoulders, the quiet steadiness in his movements, the way he filled the house without even trying. "You ever think about leaving?" Ethan asked suddenly. "Sometimes." "Then why don't you?" "Because I promised her I'd stay, and I meant it." Ethan leaned against the wall. "You really think that's what she wanted? For you to keep punishing yourself?" Liam stopped, his hand tightening on the screwdriver. "It's not punishment." "Then what is it?" "It's what's left." Ethan stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe what's left isn't supposed to hurt." Liam turned, and their faces inches apart now. The air between them trembled. "Ethan," he said softly, warning and wanting tangled in one breath. "Don't," Ethan whispered. "Not if you don't mean it." Neither moved. The world outside was quiet again, only the faint sound of thunder far away, rolling over the hills. That night, neither of them ate dinner. The storm returned, softer this time, almost merciful. Ethan stood by the window again, staring into the dark. He didn't hear Liam walk in. He just felt him there, close enough to sense the warmth. "You can't keep carrying everyone else's grief," Liam said quietly. "And what about yours?" Ethan asked. "You've buried it so deep you don't even see it anymore." Liam's jaw tightened. "This isn't about me." "It always was." The silence after that was sharp. And then, Ethan said the one thing he'd been trying not to. "You're the only one who stayed. And I don't know how to hate you for that." Liam's breath caught. He looked at Ethan, really looked. And for the first time, he didn't hide what was in his eyes. It wasn't pity. It wasn't guilt. It was something raw, unspoken, impossible to undo. When Liam reached for him, just to touch his hand, nothing more, Ethan didn't pull away. It was small, simple, but it felt like the world tilting. No words, no promises, just two people standing in the wreckage of everything they'd lost, finding something dangerous and beautiful in the ruins. That night, Ethan lay awake again, but this time he wasn't haunted by ghosts. He was haunted by the living, by the warmth of someone who shouldn't have stayed, but did. And for the first time, he wasn't sure if that was comfort or temptation. The next morning arrived slow, gray, and heavy. Rain pressed against the windows again, soft this time, almost tired. The house smelled of coffee and quiet. Ethan hadn't slept. His thoughts had turned restless, pacing circles around everything unsaid. The night before had changed something, not in action, but in weight. Every glance now carried meaning. Every silence spoke too much. He found Liam in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, hands deep in the sink. It looked ordinary, but nothing felt ordinary anymore. "You're up early," Liam said without turning. "Didn't really sleep." "Me neither." The words hung between them, unsteady. Ethan sat at the table watching him. He looked older today. Maybe it was the light, or maybe it was the truth finally showing through. "Liam," Ethan started, "about last night." "You don't have to say anything." "Maybe I do." Liam finally turned to face him, his expression unreadable. "Whatever this is," he said quietly, "it's not fair to you, or to her." "Don't do that," Ethan said. "Don't hide behind her memory. She's gone. And we're still here," Liam replied. which is exactly why it matters. The argument wasn't loud, it didn't need to be. It was all quiet words and loud feelings. "You think this is wrong," Ethan said. "I think it's complicated. Everything worth feeling usually is." Liam's eyes softened like he wanted to believe him, but the years had taught him restraint. "You're angry at the wrong things, Ethan." "Then tell me what the right ones are." The sharpness in his voice cracked something open, not between them, but inside them both. Liam stepped closer, his voice low. "You lost your mother. You lost years you can't get back. And now you're trying to fill the silence with anything that feels warm. And what if I'm not?" Ethan asked. "What if this isn't about filling anything?" The rain grew louder, like it knew what was happening. Liam sighed and sat across from him. He looked tired, in that kind of way that only comes from trying to do the right thing when your heart wants the opposite. "You've changed," Liam said softly. "So have you. You're not that boy anymore. And you're not just the man who stayed." That broke him a little, the honesty in it. "Then what am I?" "Someone who keeps pretending love is something you can control." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Ethan stood, the emotion too close to his throat. "You keep saying she wouldn't want this. Maybe she just wanted us to stop hurting." Liam's jaw tightened, but he didn't answer. Instead, he looked away, out the window at the endless rain. "You think you're the only one she left behind?" he said, voice barely holding steady. "You think I didn't lose her too? I lost both of you that day." The words hit Ethan like thunder. For the first time, he saw it. The grief that had lived behind Liam's quiet all those years. Not guilt, not duty, just pain. He stepped forward, slowly. "Then stop losing me again," Ethan whispered. Liam turned. Their eyes met, and for once neither looked away. The storm outside swelled, shaking the windows. And in that noise they both stopped pretending. Not with words, just truth, raw, trembling, human. Liam reached out, not to claim but to comfort. Ethan didn't move, didn't resist. For the first time, the silence between them didn't ache. It breathed. When the rain finally eased, so did they. No grand declarations, no promises. Just two people sitting in the quiet aftermath of honesty. Ethan leaned his head back against the chair, exhaling. "You think it'll ever stop raining here?" Liam smiled faintly. "Maybe it's not supposed to." Ethan nodded. "Maybe not." And for once that felt okay. That night, as the clouds cleared and the moonlight returned, the house felt different. Still old, still quiet, but lighter somehow, as if grief had loosened its hold. They didn't fix everything. They just stopped pretending it was broken beyond repair. And sometimes, that's where healing truly begins. The next morning, sunlight finally broke through. Not bright, just soft enough to make the wet earth glisten. The storm had left everything quieter than before. Ethan stood outside on the porch barefoot, mug of coffee warming his hands. For the first time since coming back, the silence didn't weigh on him. It simply was. Inside, he heard the creak of footsteps, Liam moving around, opening windows, letting in air that smelled of wet wood and wildflowers. It felt like the house could finally breathe again, and maybe so could they. Later that day, they worked together in the garden. The soil was still damp, the tulip bulbs waiting patiently beneath the surface. Ethan dug quietly, the rhythm of it grounding him. "You never were good at planting straight rows," Liam teased softly. Ethan smirked. "Some things never change. Some shouldn't." They shared a look, not awkward, not charged, just understanding. That strange, wordless bond between two people who had walked through grief and come out still standing. After a while, they sat by the fence, the sun finally touching the tops of the trees. Ethan spoke first. "I'm leaving soon." Liam didn't react right away, just nodded like he already knew. "You should. You've been standing still too long." Ethan looked down at his hands. "I don't know where I'll go yet. Doesn't matter, as long as you go somewhere that's yours." There was no sadness in his voice, only pride. It was the sound of someone letting go without breaking. When Ethan finally stood, he noticed the old photo of his mother still hanging in the window. Her smile seemed softer now, or maybe he was just seeing it differently. "You ever think she'd forgive us?" Ethan asked quietly. Liam took a slow breath. "There's nothing left to forgive." The answer lingered like sunlight, gentle and true. That evening, before the sun dipped below the hills, Ethan packed his bag. Just a few things. Clothes, notebooks, a camera that hadn't worked in years. Liam waited by the door. No big words, no dramatic goodbye, just presence. "You'll visit?" Liam asked. "Sometimes." "That's enough." Ethan nodded, then stepped forward, pulled him into a quiet embrace. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't hesitant. It was gratitude heavy and full. A shared acknowledgement of everything that had hurt and healed between them. When he finally walked down the gravel path, the sound of his footsteps mixed with birdsong. The world smelled new, like endings that were really beginnings. He didn't look back right away, but when he did, he saw Liam standing on the porch, watching him go, not with sadness but peace. And that was enough. Months later, Ethan sent a letter. It was short. "The city's loud, I like it. I started writing again. Sometimes when it rains, I still hear the quiet between us. Thank you for staying, and for letting me leave." No signature, but Liam didn't need one. He folded the letter, placed it beside her photo, and smiled, not because the past was gone, but because it had finally learned to rest. And somewhere between memory and forgiveness, the silence that once broke them finally became the thing that held them together.